Mary Austin guarded Freddie Mercury's secrets for 33 years. Living in his mansion, she saw him date men. AIDS killed him, but she held his hand. She inherited millions from him. But one secret was darker. Mary revealed the truth in 2024 after selling his home for $30 million. Her relationship revelations shook the world. What transpired between them is finally revealed. In a modest flat above a cobbler's shop on Fulham's North End Road, Mary Georgina Austin was born on March 6, 1951. Britain cut coal rations again that week, and her family struggled. Rita and Alfred, her parents, were deaf. Their home was full of finger spelling instead of sound. They felt rather than heard their bake-light alarm clock. Each winter, they had to pawn blankets to buy 100 pounds of coal for 3 evenings because the rent was $2.10 a week and often unpaid. By age 7, Mary was assisting her parents with power bills and trading leftover bread for bruised fruit at market stalls. Living in silence sharpened her focus. Her teachers noted she could lip-read 3 conversations at once, but she talked so softly that classmates had to lean in. One day, Freddie Mercury noticed that gentle pull. For $3 a week, Mary, 15, worked at Biba's Kensington fashion store in 1966, when London was vibrant. While living on evaporated milk tea and sharing smokes in the stockroom, she pinned velvet tiny outfits onto mannequins for Twiggy. She passed Marianne Faithfull and Mick Jagger with a tape measure, pretending to be professional but secretly realizing that some outfits cost more than her father produced in a month. Biba was more than work. In a tattered notebook, she created window displays, memorized Pantone colors, and practiced signing fashion phrases to her parents at night. Mary noted in her diary that Barbara Haluniki's appreciation of her sense of color proved she was more than the deaf girl's kid. Long hours in clothes she couldn't afford kept her fantasizing after that brief moment. In January 1968, she started evening classes at Regent Street Polytechnic to improve her future. Her tuition was $6 per term, half her annual income. To hide it, she cleaned Mayfair offices late at night, cleaning cigarette burns off carpets till 1 in the morning after her Biba duty. She barely took 5 of 18 lessons before falling behind on payments. On Piccadilly one night, she fell, rising at Cockfosters with bloody knuckles from over-gripping her mop. She was exhausted in Charing Cross Hospital. Due to no refund policy, she paid for unfinished classes. She silently tore up her registration slip and decided to learn from life. She handwrote Freddie's words years later while he performed, showing she never required shorthand classes. Mary worked at a Kensington Market boutique in spring 1969 when she met a tall young man who paraded in with zest. After dropping a cravat on the counter, he said it needed reinvention. Price tag, 10 shillings. He argued loudly when she quoted it, making surrounding stallholders chuckle. Mary calmly remarked that if he could beautifully redesign it, he could afford it. They stared at a pile of paisley till he gave her the money and added tuppence for her trouble, then left with his cape flowing behind him. She later discovered his name was Farrokh Bulsara, an art student and aspiring rock singer. Their casual scarf exchange changed their lives. He took her to a modest Italian restaurant on Earl's Court Road a week later. His order of chianti, calamari, and tiramisu cost $4.12, more than she made in a week. During dinner, he sketched album covers on the paper tablecloth, showing how opera and rock could blend. Though she knew little about either, Mary was intrigued to his conviction. When the bill arrived, he playfully dug through his pockets and handed the waiter a $5 dollar. He promised to take her to restaurants without menus near the bus stop. Queen's first gold record allowed them to share a Holland Road flat within 5 years. 26 Holland Road, their $10 a week rental, was barely habitable. This room featured crumbling walls, no heat, and a mouse-eaten carpet. Mary supported the mattress on old milk crates to prevent rodents from climbing. She heard rodents under them scratching at night. Her kitchen was a coin-fed hot plate on top of a wardrobe where she made 2 meals from a tin of beans. Late at night, Freddie wrote songs. A battered upright piano was usually a semitone flat. Mary covered windows with blankets to avoid neighbors complaining about 3 a.m. music. She surreptitiously paid Queen's rehearsal room with $3 from her $9 Biba salary on Fridays. Never telling the band, she kept the lights on. She quipped that 7 C's of Rye's initial notes were played in visible breath when frost developed on the windows in January 1972. In 1971, they founded Bling, Bang, and Glitter, a Kensington market stall. Rent was $2.50 per day. Mary bought Portobello Road 1930s gowns, chopped them apart, and made bright tops inspired by Freddie's sketches. The finest Saturday netted $38. Then Freddie made in a month at the grocery store. Mary used a borrowed singer to sew Freddie's famous Harlequin jacket. The $4.72 white satin cape with 96 silver eyelets, one of her most elaborate creations, was insured for $12,000 during Queen's 1976 tour. Mary helped Queen expand, Brian May claimed. The money from their booth led him buy his first Vox AC 30 amp. Mary was the only outsider admitted to late-night Trident Studios recording. To avoid disturbing the microphones, she held her breath while Freddie layered vocals for Keep Yourself Alive on December 15, 1972. She kept detailed notes on tape counter numbers whenever he made a mistake, becoming the session's unpaid log keeper. Freddie questioned if his vocals were grand or horrible. He gained confidence from Mary's assurances that they were great. Later, producer John Anthony stated her calmness calmed Freddie more than any studio technique. At daylight, she brought the acetate home, enveloped in her soul wool coat. Mary handled the band's meager funds. In their modest cash book, she recorded $22 in weekly costs and $11 in revenue. She got a Tottenham Court Road music shop to rent them a PA system for 60 pence a day, payable after shows. Many nights, Mary brought day-old Chelsea buns from Biba's Cafe to eat. A vehicle broke down on the band's trip to Torquay in July 1973. Mary pawned her grandmother's locket for $15 to finance repairs and brought it back months later after Queen earned their first record advance. By year's end, she saved $47 in a band joint account, Kensington's National Westminster Bank. At Christmas 1973, Freddie proposed with a $12 pawnbroker-bought 9-carat gold ring. He walked her onto the empty stage at Hammersmith Odeon after a concert, knelt, and asked if she would be his wife when Queen's popularity supported them. Though she agreed, she demanded they wait until the band got gold. Mary believed Garden Lodge would be their lifelong home when Freddie acquired it for $500,000 in early 1977. Within months, the 28-room mansion felt like a private theater rather than their place. Freddie filled it with treasures, including an 18th-century Chippendale dining suite and $9,800 Louis XVI gilded mirrors from Christie's. A wall-sized Andy Warhol print. The neighborhood movers called the house Versailles West since antique statues arrived every weekend. Mary eventually confessed to hiding in the attic that she had termed a bedsit because she no longer recognized the lower rooms. Freddie's growing group of artists, club owners, and Japanese dealers regarded Garden Lodge like an after-hours salon by late 1978. Who had chosen plain cream drapes for the windows felt like a guest who forgot the password. In 1975, Mary bought $3 used Biba coats on Kings Road. She sat front row at Zandra Road's spring show in a 480 OC 2 years later. Clark gown. Her rapid wardrobe change showed rock star money, but not comfort. I felt like a cardboard cutout in couture, she told a pal. At the A Star is Born premiere in Leicester Square on January 14, 1977, photographers shouted Freddie's name while Mary stood half a step behind in emerald satin and Cartier earrings. Clutching a bag, she swiped from Queen's stylist. That December, roadies at the Inglewood Forum mocked her about her $300 Manolo heels sinking into cables. Although she laughed, she wrote in her diary that everyone else was wearing the outfit. I feel costumed. She saw herself in the glitter, but it also reminded her of how far she had come from the shy store girl who patched Freddie's pants. Mary fulfilled every fan's wish. A pass for anywhere. She saw Freddie test someone to love at Hyde Park on September 18, 1976, tape a silver star to his chest for Earl's Court on June 7, 1977, and perfect the mic stand swirl that defined Live Aid 8 years later. From the wings, she saw more private moments, such after the encore in Houston on December 11, 1977, when Freddie skipped champagne and went with club regulars. She noticed on the following spring's Japan tour that post-show invitations only featured Mr. Mercury and a +1. Freddie kissed her forehead and said, "Book 2 seats," when she questioned if she should book her own journey home. "Darling, I may join you." The clue led her to fly alone. 20,000 fans cheered, But two people who had shared a takeout pizza in a tiny bedsit remained silent. Art became Freddie's focus throughout 1977 and 1978. The Edo period lacquer cost $72,000, the Meiji cloisonne charger $14,500, and Hayashi kimono in Ginza $5,000 a week. After searching Garden Lodge, Sotheby's uncovered 17 auction catalogs marked with Freddie's fine handwriting, including must-have or show Mary. He regularly requested her print opinions, but outbid himself moments later. Though the sculptures were stunning, Mary found the steady flow overpowering. His inner retreat was sometimes described as a museum with no hours. A 3 a.m. drop of a 1.8-meter Rygene bronze into the garden was the turning point. Latest Freddie indulgence, $11.200. Mary thought, he's building a world I don't know, as the statue dangled over the roses in the drizzle. One March night in 1976, Garden Lodge was abnormally quiet. The 4 words that changed Mary's life were said after midnight as Freddie strode between the Japanese screen and the bay window. Consider myself bisexual. His age was 29. Bohemian Rhapsody had topped the U.S. charts, and months of touring had pushed him to face questions he could no longer escape. Mary, 25, recalled talking till dawn in a 2013 interview. During the 1975 American tour, Freddie confessed to fawning on male roadies and fearing tabloids. Mary had ignored a Munich club postcard in his jacket weeks previously. Confession dashed customary future hopes. That night, the green drawing room became neutral ground where they reshaped their relationship directly. In 1970s London, most partners would have been angry, but Mary remarked, "I think you're gay, and that's okay." She later said she had to accept him when he dreaded rejection to keep him emotionally alive. She opened a party champagne bottle and offered practical advice instead of leaving. Soho shopping, where Freddie could attempt risky outfits, code phrases like going and teeking for intimate rendezvous, and a vow not to reveal him to the tabloids that had attacked David Bowie. Freddie could explore heaven and bang in 1977 without shame because to her calm backing. Freddie later told music journalist Leslie and Jones that Mary prevented him from blowing everything up by declaring publicly before he was ready. Their third-way relationship developed. They became friends instead of lovers. To get input, Freddie, who trusted few, slipped lyrics under her door. She was the first to say Somebody to Love's bridge was too long. While Queen traveled, Freddie contacted her nightly and paid reverse charges. He worries about journalists investigating San Francisco rumors. Mary would sit on his side of the bed with the phone, calming him from across the seas. Even though they had ceased being intimate over a year earlier, he told a Swiss interviewer in 1978 that Mary was his household of trust. Despite friends' confusion, the arrangement lasted longer than most weddings. Mary did not leave. Freddie would stay in the emerald green master suite and Mary in the lilac guest room. And they would have a weekly Wednesday supper where they could talk about anything but Queen's finances. While he toured, she handled fan letters, Japanese prints, and invoices. Freddie visited clubs late at night, while Mary waited with tea to hear his experience. Later, Brian May said Freddie trusted Mary with his private life, which could have ruined him in the tabloid era. Home became a haven and a launchpad for his self-discovery. After Queen finished recording News of the World on October 12, 1977, Mary's journal shows their last physical intercourse. Freddie, happy with his get down, make love vocals, invited her partying, kissing, and sleeping together. Mary thought that closeness was over with dawn. In a 1996 BBC interview, she said she would carry that morning in silence. Though their romance ended, their closeness endured. Mary Austin saw Freddie Mercury's alarming changes in early 1985, weeks after Queen's landmark Live Aid performance. Despite practicing, he lost weight and had bluish blotches on his arms. Such marks were linked to Kaposi's sarcoma, an early symptom of AIDS, by doctors. Mary stopped at London's Gaze the Word bookshop on March 4, 1985, to buy every booklet about the gay disease, as the press called it. That night, she wrote in her diary, Freddie losing collarbone flesh. Investigation required. The news exacerbated her fear. By the end of the year, the UK had 2,348 AIDS cases and 1,320 deaths, more than half of them. So yet, no treatment worked. Mary realized Freddie's only chance was early symptom detection. She locked her secret Garden Lodge file in a drawer. At the time, whispering aids might ruin a job or friendship. Mary secretly organized medical visits in 1986 and 1987. She made Harley Street appointments under Frederick Bolsaramac and used her own phone number to avoid detection. On February 22, 1987, she drove Freddie to Brompton Hospital at 5:45 a.m. so personnel would change shifts and not see him. Mary acted promptly after his April 29, 1987 test results were positive. She spent $7,600 on a courier to carry AZT from New York, an experimental medicine, through Amsterdam for 3 months. No British customs form would mention Freddie. She crossed out barcodes on extra prescription pads in their Kensington safe to stay hidden from pharmacies. She secretly arranged Sure Queen's tour insurance covered vague chronic disease, allowing private medical flights without revealing Freddie's condition. Mary's planning gave Freddie privacy and time to record. Maintaining the secret burdened her. In 1987 to 1991, Mary kept the truth while falsehoods spread. In April 1990, tabloids posted long-lens images of Freddie looking emaciated, but she said he was fatigued from studio work. Freddie had warned her not to tell the truth, saying that if one crack appeared, the dam burst. In 1990, newspapers offered $500,000 for confirmation of his illness, or $1.2 million today. Mary declined every offer. The pressure was like guarding a nuclear core, she said. Any phone call may have her heart racing, fearing it was a clinic phoning by mistake. Stress got to me. In 18 months, she shed 9 kg and stayed awake for 72 hours before fainting alongside Freddie's bed. She didn't speak until Freddie's statement on November 23, 1991. Freddie recorded despite his growing illness. Mary booked evening Metropolis Studios sessions from January to May 1991 to avoid his daily 4 treatments. She used a kitchen timer to keep his takes to 25 minutes since his lung capacity was 60%. The haunting lyrics of the show Must Go On were recorded on April 13, 1991, with Mary outside the booth holding a glass of vodka and fresh orange juice to soothe his throat. She encouraged producer David Richards to make DAT Walkman mixes Freddie could approve from bed. Freddie recorded 18 vocal tracks for Made in Heaven because of her efforts. Later, Brian May noted Mary's precise scheduling made the achievement feasible. Freddie developed AIDS when his T-cell count dropped below 50 in October 1991. Mary moved into Garden Lodge permanently on October 20th, turning the master suite into a hospice. She kept in touch with Dr. Gordon Atkinson regarding his morphine doses while rotating 5 carers, 2 nurses, and Jim Hutton. Freddie lost his right eye on November 10th, so Mary bought blackout curtains to keep him from waking up to the winter sun. She installed a bell on his bedside table so he could call for medication, ice chips, or help flipping art book pages. She supported Jim Beach while Freddie dictated his final statement on November 22nd and gave it to Peter Freestone for worldwide distribution. Bronchial pneumonia killed Freddie at 6:48 p.m. on November 24, 1991. Mary did his final wish instantly, placing his cats alongside him and playing Queen's Barcelona on a Sony CF-580 boombox. She led his $3,500 Zoroastrian funeral at Kensal Green Crematorium 3 days later, attended by 35 people. To keep her 1985 pledge, only Mary knows where his ashes were scattered. London estate brokers Knight Frank secretly listed Garden Lodge for over $30 million in February 2024. Mary Austin had maintained the mansion nearly unchanged since Mercury's 1991 death, shocking Queen fans. He threw spontaneous parties in the citrus yellow dining room, which she preserved with many personal touches. 3 affluent collectors sealed the bid after 8 weeks, raising the price to $30 million. Exchanged contracts and completion were slated on May 27, 2024. After using a Cayman Islands corporation to remain anonymous in early July, rumors arose that the buyer may be a Middle Eastern king who acquired Prince's former Purple residence in Minnesota. It cost $5,000 per square foot in London's housing market, greater than the billionaire-filled Kensington Palace Garden average. However, Mary Austin's farewell message on the green door was the most touching. Freddie's absence permeated every area, she noted. Liberate us both. A hand-drawn phoenix, Mercury's symbol, marked the end of her 33-year vigil at the bottom. Shortly before, in September 2023, Sotheby's auctioned 1,400 Garden Lodge artifacts in 6 marathon sessions, raising $40.1 million, 4 times more than projected, setting a rock and roll collection record. 70 nations bid on Mercury's life. He sold his silver snake bracelet for $705,000. Tiffany mustache comb sold for $152,400. A graffiti-covered Garden Lodge door sold for $412,000. From Austin-approved catalog notes in 33 languages, some interesting details emerged. An early draft of Bohemian Rhapsody listed Mongolian Rhapsody as its working title. The margins included a little Jimi Hendrix doodle. The 1975 mirror ball stage Cape of Mercury has throat lozenge pockets. Austin kept only 7 pieces, including Mercury's Kyoto Jade Antique. The sales live webcast attracted 1.2 million watchers, surpassing Queen's Wembley Stadium audience in 1986. Freddie's farewell performance with the world in the front row was relayed by Austin to Brian May, who could not see the auction. The surviving members of Queen sold their song collection to Sony Song for $1 billion, approximately $1.27 billion, in June 2024. The agreement granted Mercury's executor, Mary Austin, 19% of his fortune. After taxes, analysts calculated her take at $187 million. She became one of Britain's 50 richest women after surpassing Sir Paul McCartney's $150 million. The money came the week Bohemian Rhapsody reached 2 billion YouTube views. Her advisors invested most of the assets in a Luxembourg family office, from green energy bonds to vintage Cartier jewels, the same market she had affected with the Sotheby's sale. Austin declined memoir and reality show proposals, stating her 1985 pledge to Mercury. He requested her to keep the enigma a secret because if it did, the music would die. After Garden Lodge, Mary Austin settled into quiet prosperity, according to tabloids. Her neighbors in a little Cotswolds village didn't know she inspired love of my life, according to People magazine. ATMJ is the only name locals know for the blind, trust-owned mansion. In April 2025, Heathrow photographers saw her boarding a flight to Zanzibar, Mercury's birthplace, but an unidentified bidder bought the photographs, which disappeared within a day. Her 2 boys shun the spotlight and use other identities on voter registrations. Personal acquaintances say she wears a Patek Philippe. Mercury joked in the studio about the song's ticking rhythm. In the same way she once hid while tens of thousands screamed for Freddie, she now lets the music shine while remaining almost invisible.